Hi, we are the Ohio guys here in location in Stan Lee's Kamikaze in Los Angeles, California. I'm Christian Campo, and today I'm joined by André Sogliuzzo.
André Sogliuzzo, hi.
Hello, sir. Thank you for joining me for the interview.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Thank you again. So we got a few questions to ask you.
Okay.
First of all, what's it like working in the industry today?
What's it like working in which industry? The entertainment industry in general or voiceover? It's changing. Things get faster with technology and auditioning and working becomes a lot shorter notice nowadays because people need something, a producer, a studio. They don't have to schedule it as far down the road anymore as they used to because everybody has the technology at their fingertips. So they'll call me for something the same day and they'll need it back in an hour and a half because they know that I probably have a microphone, as I say, growing out of my butt. So I drive around literally now in my car with a laptop and a microphone because there's demand for stuff that they need back right away, whether it's a voice match, animated character, something. So you can never be too far from a microphone during business hours. Generally, between about 9 and 7 p.m., I always have a microphone and a laptop somewhere near me. That's totally different. 5 years ago, it wasn't like that. 10 years ago, it definitely was not like that. People used to have to schedule what they needed. You knew you needed something on a Monday. You put out the calls. You scheduled an audition for Wednesday. Someone went to a studio. They said maybe by Thursday, whatever, you had it back. Now they can get it back in 45 minutes, an hour. 2 hours, the end of the day, whatever. So that's a big, big difference when you say, what's it like in the industry? I mean, there's many things in the industry. You'd have to narrow that question, but in general, that's what's changed from the way it used to be.
All right.
Social media has also changed the industry as well.
Oh, it has.
Twitter, Facebook, the access. You found me on Twitter. Before you would have had to find out who my agent was, contact them, send me a note. Now, you can get to me directly that way. And it's great because for actors, you have much more contact with your audience and with fans and with the press, etc. So that's a lot different too. And that's really changed in the past 5 years as well.
Right on. All right. So what's your favorite show or video game you have worked on?
Favorite video game I've worked on? I have a couple, but the top one that was the most fun for me was Scarface: The World Is Yours. That was a big honor and it was a big job because they had a huge search to find Tony Montana, and they went with me, and ultimately Pacino signed off on my voice, so he had final approval of who played the character, and that was a lot of fun. And in the game, I'm sure you've played the game, a lot of people have, you play the game as Tony Montana. It's from his point of view, so we had to come up with a line for or they came up with a line, I should say, for every interaction he has within the game. So if he meets a woman on the street, he says, "Hey baby, you want some ice cream?" Or he meets whoever, they had to come up with different sentences. So by the end of the game, there were over 5,000 lines as Tony. So it was a lot of work. But it was really nice to be able to get to inhabit that character for that length of time. And Tony's a very specific mindset. I mean, the movie is 2 hours. That game is... you've played it all the way to the end. I confess I haven't. But it must be 100 hours. I have no idea how long you can play that game. Probably forever. It's a big, big open world game. So that was a lot of fun because it's the most lines I've ever had in any one game and the most time I've got to spend with any one character. And the thing with Tony is you know how he's going to behave in every situation because that movie is kind of a template of how he's going to act. You have him angry, you have him in love, you have him, all the different shades of his personality are sort of covered in that. And as we went along in the game, we always could go back to the film and know, well, how should I behave? They didn't really need to direct me. It was kind of nice. Also, it was a very nice collaborative experience with the people producing the game because we would all go to the movie and we could look at it and see, oh yeah, okay, this is the tone for this scene. Oh yeah, this scene is like when he's talking to Sosa. This scene is like when he's talking to Michelle Pfeiffer in So you had all the different nuances of the character are mapped out for you to follow and run with. So it was a lot of fun.
It was a great game.
Yeah,
It
it's a
was.
good game. It was. I would say that game was the best. That game was made right at the end of PS2 before PS3. PS3 had already come out, but they knew their buying audience at the time still probably had PS2 consoles, so they didn't want to make it on the new platform. So that is kind of unfortunate. But as PS2 goes, it's probably the best PS2 game I ever played in terms of driving and shooting and controlling all of the things. All that got much better once you got to PS3. The look, the feel of it. But as a PS2 game goes, that one's really pretty good, I have to say.
All right. So another game you worked on. What was that working on? Condemned 2.
Condemned 2 is a weird game. I didn't spend a lot of time on it. A couple of my friends are on it. Fred Tatasciore was one of them, and a few other people. It's a creepy game. It's a very strange kind of. The character I do the lead character, Ethan Thomas, and his voice is kind of sort of close to mine, just a lot cooler. Ethan Thomas just kind of has that monotone, kind of cool drone the whole time, you know. So, as opposed to Tony, who's all over the fucking place, you know? I mean, if you're going into Tony, he's big. Ethan is just that guy the whole time. So, but when I then went to play the game, it was so disturbing. I couldn't play it for too long. I was like, who plays this game? Serial killers? You know, like future serial killers. It's like, and also it was, my problem is I get motion sick. Because you're in a lot of enclosed spaces and creepy environments, and it's a lot of up close and personal POV stuff, and I start to get a little bit dizzy. So I played it for a little while, but between the motion sickness and the overall creepiness of the game, I couldn't even handle it, and I did it. But it's incredible. It's an incredible game to look at, and an incredible storyline. I mean, the whole thing is amazing. I just couldn't spend too much time with it, but it was a lot of fun when I did it. Wasn't too many sessions. I think we did maybe one or two. Most of that game was more the environment than the actual characters in it, the actual lead characters. It wasn't, from my memory of it, there wasn't a tremendous amount of story. I came in for some narrative throughout telling my story, but then I guess you're playing as Ethan Thomas, but he's not talking the whole time. So I didn't have a lot of lines, but the ones I did have kind of point you in the right direction, and then you just disappear into this kind of really sick, weird world. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right, now final question. If you can be any character you have played in real life, who will you be? And you can mix and match.
I can mix and match. Any character I could be. I don't know if there's any character that I would want to be. I mean, it depends. I've done so many different things between games and movies. Are you talking in games or just any character?
Any character.
Let me think. Each one's a little different. I mean, Tony Montana is fun because Tony has, like, you know, the ability to do, say, whatever the fuck he wants because he's Tony fucking Montana, you know? So he's got the ego that we all wish we had, and he's as I've said in interviews before, he's the little guy with huge ambitions that will not take no for an answer. And he starts out as a dishwasher and he builds this empire and then he self-destructs. But, you know, what a burnout it is at the end. So he's almost like a living cartoon character in terms of the human id, you know, just gone awry. So to be that for a couple of hours would be fun, but then you'd wreak so much havoc you couldn't live that way. But for a little while it would be fun to be Tony. Another character that I love very much is a character called Dill. And Dill is on American Dad, and he's sort of a Truman Capote. And he's very gentle, and he likes his walking petunias, and he's a very dignified Southern gentleman. And he is of a sort of unspoken but rather specific sexuality that makes him rather amusing because he just is very clear about the things he likes. He was only in 2 episodes, but they were lots of fun to do. So that would be a character, again, for an afternoon. It would be lovely to be Dill. I couldn't keep that going all day long, but yeah, he would be a lot of fun as well. And then I'm sideswiping the Transformers movie. Sideswipe was great because he was kind of like this big, arrogant Autobot James Bond. He's the one that cuts the Corvette in half, and he goes, "Damn, I'm good." You know, again, Transformers almost like Tony Montana on giant steroids. You know, because it just they wreak havoc. They do whatever they want. So Sideswipe was would be good for an afternoon if you had something you needed to destroy. It would be really good to be a Transformer just for a little while. That was a lot of fun as well.
Another somewhat new show you worked on was like working on Puss in Boots.
It was a lot of fun to be Puss in Boots. I have been Puss in Boots many years. On the on YouTube channel, I still you see. What was fun about the Puss in Boots was that I had the opportunity to do full motion capture. So I was in the suit with the dots, with the lights, with the strobe, everywhere you look, you know. And I could walk at last, dance, walk, talk. I could be Puss, like, you know. So for an animation actor, most of the time they just record our voice. But to be able to fully inhabit it was a tremendous thrill. And so I still do those every once in a while with DreamWorks, for DreamWorks TV. And but yeah, Puss in Boots is another. He's almost like a sweet Tony Montana. You know, the ego is gigantic. The cat is very small. You know, so Puss is a lot of fun, and he also has that the Latin ego of how sexy he is. You know, his power over the women. But that was a lot of fun. That was one of the favorite things I got to do because that's a rare opportunity in animation. You never get to walk and talk. And more video games are going mocap, but usually to do a cartoon character in a full physical performance is a real rare treat. So that I love that one a lot.
So, is there anything else coming out that you can talk about, or anything you just want to plug in at this time?
There's a couple really great things coming out. One film I have coming out, it's a film. There's a documentary called Being George Clooney that is a really wonderful look at the world of ADR or looping. A little bit different from what I do. It also looks at the world of dubbing. Because when people watch a movie around the world, most people in the world don't know what Al Pacino sounds like or George Clooney sounds like, or because they have an actor from their country dubbing the movie. So I have family in Italy, and they have no idea what Al Pacino sounds like. They think he's Giancarlo Giannini because he does Pacino's voice in all the movies, or they'll have one guy. So Being George Clooney takes a look at that, and he used George Clooney as this sort of conduit by which you explore the whole world of looping and post-production and ADR. And he initially came to me because I did George Clooney for American Dad, did a whole episode called Tears of a Clooney. So first he was talking to me about that, and then I said, well, I've also looped George Clooney for trailers and some film. And so I just kind of went into a whole monologue of what it was like, essentially, to be George Clooney and feel like George Clooney. What being George Clooney really meant on the inside. And turns out he's opening the movie with this whole monologue that I did, which is going to be a lot of fun. And so that'll be a really nice exposure for me, but it'll be a nice exposure for all the guys behind the scenes. So he talks to the guy who does Clooney in India, in France, in Turkey. You know, he went around the world and talked to all the George Clooney dubbing guys. So it'll be a really fun documentary. That should be coming out. I'm not sure where. It'll probably be in theaters and then probably on Netflix. But yeah, that'll be a really good one I've got coming up. Animation-wise,
Non-disclosures.
yeah, I got a lot of NDAs I can't talk about, but what's one coming out soon? I think my Sophia the First may be out right now. I'm not sure. I'm going to be in an upcoming Sophia the First, and then the sequel to Sophia the First, the new spin-off show, Elena of Avalor. There's some stuff coming out on that too, but yeah. So I have a few really good things coming out. More stuff in the Transformers world. I have more stuff coming up in the Star Wars world. That was another game that I was another series I was involved with early on was the original Clone Wars animated series for the first 2 seasons when it was on Cartoon Network. And I was all the ARC Troopers, Clone Troopers, Captain Fordo, Captain Typho. Yeah, so I did a lot of characters in the Star Wars universe a while back. Then it went into another Clone Wars series that's still currently on, and now there's Clone Wars Rebels or Star Wars Rebels, and so yeah, there's some interesting stuff coming out in that world as well. So that's a lot of fun. So yeah, Transformers and Star Wars, those are wonderful franchises that I've been really honored to be able to work on, and I'm still doing stuff with.
All right, good. Glad to hear so. So we have our last question, and we ask this to all our guests.
Okay.
Any Facebook, Twitter, or any other social media for the fans to contact you?
You can find me. Definitely go to my Facebook fan page or professional page, and you can also find me on Twitter. What is it? At André, then capital A André, and then capital S Sogliuzzo, Sogliuzzo. So at André Sogliuzzo, you can find me there as well on Twitter. But Twitter and Facebook are the two best places. But if you go to my Facebook page, post something. Because people visit, I get little clicks that people have visited my site, and I even say, please write something on my wall so I know you've been here. Because yeah, it's nice when I hear feedback from people who enjoy my work, or I find out what it is they've seen. Because we do stuff, and then it kind of just goes out there in the universe, and we don't always get to interact with our fans. So it's really nice to hear from them. It was really nice to hear from you that way, and that you were able to find me. So it was really great to hear when you tweeted me, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, good, somebody out there, is watching. So it's always good to have that interaction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Responding.
My pleasure.
All right, everyone. Well, we want to thank you guys for joining us for another edition of the Ohio Guys, and want to thank Andre here for joining me for the interview. So again, I'm Christian.
And André Sogliuzzo, and we're here at Stan Lee's Kamikaze, having a great day.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.